Hello, I'm Dr. Clark. Every day in my practice, I see patients who are trying their very best to live a healthier life. They're walking more, they're cutting out sweets, and they're carefully choosing foods they believe are nourishing their bodies. But here's a question that might stop you in your tracks. What if the very healthy food you had for breakfast this morning is silently waging a war on one of your body's most vital organs? I'm talking about your kidneys. A startling number of Americans, over 37 million, have chronic kidney disease, and most don't even know it. It's often a silent disease until the damage is severe. The culprit isn't always the obvious villain like sugary soda or fast food. Sometimes it hides in plain sight, disguised as health food. Today, we are going to unmask 4 of these secret saboteurs. Let's start with the first one, something many of you probably have in your kitchen right now. I want to tell you about a patient of mine, Arthur. He's a wonderful 68-year-old gentleman, a retired history teacher who loves his morning routine: 2 slices of whole wheat toast with a little jam and a cup of black coffee. He'd proudly tell me how he switched from white bread years ago for his heart health. But we were both stumped. His lab work showed stubbornly high phosphorus levels, a major red flag for kidney strain. His GFR, which is the best measure of kidney function, think of it as the horsepower of your kidney-ENS engine, was slowly but surely declining. We went through his diet with a fine-tooth comb, and nothing seemed out of place. Until we looked at the ingredients list on his heart-healthy whole wheat bread. Buried deep in the list were the words sodium phosphate. Arthur was stunned. "But doctor," he said, "it's whole wheat. It's supposed to be good for me." He's not alone in this thinking. This is one of the most common and dangerous traps I see. The food industry often uses phosphate additives in baked goods, cereals, and processed meats to improve texture and extend shelf life. These are not the natural organic phosphorus found in whole foods, they are inorganic, chemical additives that are almost 100% absorbed by your body. For someone with healthy kidneys, this might not be a major issue. But for aging kidneys, or kidneys already weakened by conditions like diabetes or high blood pressure, it's like pouring gasoline on a fire. Your kidneys are designed to be expert filters, balancing the minerals in your blood. When you consume too much phosphorus, healthy kidneys just filter out the excess and send it out through your urine. But when their function declines, they can't keep up. The phosphorus builds up in your blood. Now, here's the truly insidious part of how this works. Your body is obsessed with balance. To deal with the excess phosphorus in the blood, it starts pulling calcium directly out of your bones. Over time, this makes your bones weak, brittle, and prone to fractures. But it gets worse. That calcium doesn't just vanish, it deposits in your blood vessels, your heart, and even your skin, making them hard and stiff. This is a condition called calcification, and it dramatically increases your risk for heart attack and stroke. So Arthur's healthy toast was literally weakening his bones and hardening his arteries. The practical step here is becoming a detective when you're at the grocery store. This is what I call the label reading masterclass. Ignore the flashy claims on the front of the package, words like multi-grain, all-natural, or heart-healthy. Flip it over and scan the ingredients list for any word that ends in PHOS, or contains phosphate. Monosodium phosphate, dicalcium phosphate, phosphoric acid. These are all warning signs. Take 2 loaves of bread off the shelf next time you're shopping. Compare them. You might be shocked to find the healthier-looking one is packed with these additives. So, I have 2 questions for you to reflect on tonight. First, have you taken a moment this week to read the full ingredient list on your go-to bread or cereal? And second, could a hidden additive, not the food itself, be contributing to health issues you can't explain? The good news is, for Arthur, the fix was simple. We found a local bakery that made bread with simple ingredients: flour, water, yeast, salt. Within 3 months, his phosphorus levels returned to the normal range, and the decline in his kidney function stabilized. It was a powerful lesson in looking beyond the marketing. Let's move on to our second category of seemingly healthy foods that can pose a risk to vulnerable kidneys. These are foods universally celebrated as superfoods, packed with vitamins and antioxidants. I'm talking about things like bananas, avocados, oranges, and even potatoes and tomatoes. What do they all have in common? They are incredibly rich in a mineral called potassium. Now, potassium is absolutely essential for your body. It helps your nerves fire, your muscles contract, and it's critical for maintaining a steady heartbeat. But, as with so many things in health, the dose makes the poison, especially when your kidney function is compromised. I remember a patient, Brenda, a 72-year-old who was the picture of health. She walked every day and started her mornings with a nutrient-packed smoothie. Her recipe? A whole banana, a handful of spinach, and a scoop of protein powder. She often followed it up with avocado toast for lunch. She was doing everything right, or so she thought. Yet she came to me complaining of fatigue, muscle weakness, and a strange tingling sensation in her fingertips. Her lab work gave us the answer. Her potassium levels were dangerously high, a condition called hyperkalemia, and her GFR, her kidney horsepower, was in stage 3, meaning her kidneys were only working at about half capacity. She had no idea. Brenda Sue's story is a perfect example of how even the best intentions can backfire if we don't understand the specific needs of our body as we age. For a person with healthy kidneys, eating a banana and an avocado in one day is perfectly fine. Their kidneys would simply filter out any excess potassium. But for Brenda, whose kidney function was at 50%, that double dose of potassium was overwhelming the system. The filter was clogged. Her kidneys couldn't get rid of the excess, so it was building up in her bloodstream, causing the fatigue and nerve symptoms she was experiencing. The scary part about hyperkalemia is that it's not just about fatigue. In its severe form, it can interfere with the electrical signals in the heart, leading to a life-threatening arrhythmia or even sudden cardiac arrest. It's one of the most urgent complications of kidney disease. The practical takeaway here is all about portion awareness and making smart swaps. Unlike phosphorus additives, potassium is a natural part of the food, so you won't find it on the ingredients list. Sometimes it's on the nutrition facts panel, but for fresh produce, you just have to know which foods are high in it. A single medium banana can have over 400 mg of potassium, and a whole avocado can have nearly 700 mg. For someone with late-stage kidney disease, their daily limit might be just 2,000 mg. You can see how quickly it adds up. Instead of a whole banana in your smoothie, try using half a banana and a cup of berries, like blueberries or strawberries, which are much lower in potassium. Instead of a whole avocado on your toast, use a quarter of it and get that creamy texture you love without the potassium overload. An apple, a handful of grapes, or some cucumber slices are all fantastic, kidney-friendly alternatives. This brings me to my reflective questions for you. First, are you eating multiple high-potassium foods in a single day without realizing it? Think about your daily routine. Orange juice at breakfast, a potato at lunch, tomato sauce at dinner. And second, have you ever considered that the portion size of a healthy food could be just as important as the food itself? Brenda was relieved to finally have an answer. We worked with a renal dietitian to adjust her diet, focusing on lower potassium fruits and vegetables. She learned to enjoy the foods she loved in moderation. Her energy levels returned, the tingling disappeared, and most importantly, we protected her heart and slowed the progression of her kidney disease. All right, let's talk about the third hidden danger, and this one is all about convenience. It's the canned soups, the frozen dinners, and the prepackaged meals that so many of us rely on when we're short on time. And often, we reach for the ones with labels that scream organic, low-fat, or even reduced sodium, believing we're making a responsible choice. But these foods are often Trojan horses, smuggling an incredible amount of sodium into your diet, which is devastating for both your blood pressure and your kidneys. Let me tell you about George. He's a 75-year-old widower who lives alone. His children worry about him, but he's fiercely independent. To make things easier for himself, he stocked his pantry with canned soups: lentil, minestrone, chicken noodle. He was so careful, he told me, to only buy the brands that said reduced sodium on the front. Despite this, his blood pressure was consistently high, his ankles were swollen by the end of the day, and his kidney function was steadily worsening. He felt defeated. "I don't get it, Doc," he said, frustration in his voice. "I'm not adding any salt to my food. I'm buying the healthy stuff. What am I doing wrong?" The problem was a classic case of misleading marketing and a misunderstanding of serving sizes. We took one of his favorite cans of reduced sodium lentil soup and looked at the nutrition label together. The sodium content was listed as 480 milligrams. That doesn't sound terrible, right? But here's the catch. It was 480 milligreers per serving, and the can contained 2.5 servings. George, like most people, was eating the entire can for his lunch. Without realizing it, he was consuming 200 milliliters of sodium in a single meal. For a senior with high blood pressure and stage 3 kidney disease, his daily sodium goal should be around 1,500 milliliters for the entire day. He was getting nearly his full day's allotment from one healthy lunch. This is the simple, brutal science of how sodium wrecks your kidneys. Your body is a finely tuned machine that needs a specific balance of water and salt to function. When you flood it with excess sodium, your body desperately holds onto water to dilute it. This increases the total volume of blood in your circulatory system. Think of it like turning up the pressure in a garden hose. That extra fluid volume raises your blood pressure throughout your entire body, but it puts an incredible strain on the delicate, tiny, filtering blood vessels within your kidneys, called the glomeruli. Over years, this relentless high pressure damages and scars these filters, permanently reducing their ability to clean your blood. The swelling in George's ankles was a direct result of his body retaining all that extra fluid. His kidneys were screaming for help. The practical lesson here is to become a master of sodium math and to be deeply skeptical of front-of-package claims. Reduced sodium simply means it has 25% less sodium than the original product, which was likely astronomical to begin with. It is not a synonym for low sodium. Always check the sodium per serving, and then multiply it by the servings per container. This number is the true sodium bomb you're dealing with. A truly low-sodium product will have 140 milliquarters or less per serving. A better option is to make your own soups at home in a big batch and freeze them in portions. This way, you control the ingredients entirely. This leads me to my questions for you. When was the last time you calculated the total sodium in an entire package of a convenience food you eat regularly? And are you letting marketing terms like organic or natural lull you into a false sense of security about what's really in your food? For George, this discovery was a game changer. He started buying no-salt-added broths and fresh or frozen vegetables to make his own simple soups. His blood pressure improved dramatically, the swelling in his legs went away, and we were able to halt the decline of his GFR. He felt more in control of his health than he had in years. We've talked about phosphorus in bread, potassium in fruits, and sodium in soups. Now, let's address our fourth and final category, which combines two of these problem minerals in one very common and often recommended group of foods: dairy products. Milk, yogurt, and cheese are lauded for their calcium and protein content, essential for bone health. But for individuals with compromised kidneys, they represent a double threat because they are also naturally high in both phosphorus and potassium. This is where understanding your specific stage of kidney health becomes absolutely critical. The dietary advice for someone in stage 1 is vastly different from the advice for someone in stage 4. Let me share an inspiring story. Margaret, a vibrant 71-year-old, came to my office very worried. She had just been diagnosed with stage 3B chronic kidney disease. Her GFR was 47, meaning her kidneys were working at less than half their normal capacity. She was a meticulous person and was already doing so much right, but she had a lifelong habit: a large glass of milk with her breakfast and a cup of yogurt for an afternoon snack. She believed this was keeping her bones strong. In reality, with her kidney function so low, this dairy habit was overloading her system with both potassium and the natural organic phosphorus we talked about earlier. Unlike the inorganic additives, organic phosphorus isn't as easily absorbed, but when kidney function is low and intake is high, it still builds up and causes the same problems, pulling calcium from the bones and hardening the arteries. We had a long talk about what I call the stage-based approach. I explained that the GFR number isn't just a score, it's a guide that tells us how strict we need to be. Think of it like this. Stage 1 and 2 is the green zone. Your kidneys are damaged but still functioning well enough to handle a normal diet, so dairy in moderation is usually fine. Stage 3 is the yellow zone. This is where Margaret was. It's a crucial warning period where you must start making moderate restrictions on phosphorus, potassium, and sodium to preserve the function you have left. Stage 4 and 5 is the red zone. At this point, the kidneys are severely impaired, and strict avoidance of these high-mineral foods is required to delay the need for dialysis. Understanding this gave Margaret a sense of purpose. She wasn't just blindly cutting out foods, she was actively managing her specific stage of health. She swapped her cow's milk for an unenriched rice milk, which is much lower in phosphorus and potassium. She replaced her yogurt with a small bowl of berries and a non-dairy topping. These were not drastic, miserable changes. They were targeted, strategic swaps. The results were astounding. Over the next 6 months, we watched her lab numbers. Her phosphorus and potassium levels normalized, and her GFR, which we thought would only decline, actually improved from 47 to 55. She moved from a late stage 3 to an early stage 3. We can't cure kidney disease, but with diligent dietary management, we can absolutely slow its progression and sometimes even see a measurable improvement in function. It was a victory for her, a testament to the power of precise, personalized nutrition. So, the 2 most important questions I can leave you with today are these. Do you know your GFR number? It's the single most important piece of information you can have about your kidney health. And if you do know it, have you had a conversation with your doctor about what that number actually means for your plate? I urge you, if you don't know your GFR, make an appointment and ask your doctor for a simple blood test. It's your right to know that number. Knowledge is power, and in the case of your kidneys, it's the power to protect them for years to come.